Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminolly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, thrillers. It's another thrilling instalment in my library tour. Hello, I've just realised while I was editing the video that I missed out something really important. So I've snuck back in here to let you know, if you stay tuned until the end of the video, you will see all of the secrets of Freemasonry revealed. Well, maybe not all of them, except some of them. Yes, there's something interesting at the end of the video that's not really book related, but stay tuned. Cheerio. So I've been up in the attic, I've ventured into the lofty abyss above. Well, it's not really an abyss because it's full of junk and books. And I've plucked down a box of, which is labelled Thrillers Unread. So let me first start by defining what I mean by thrillers in this context. So thrillers is quite a broad term, and it's used particularly nowadays to cover kind of suspense novels. What I'm talking about here with thrillers is what I think of as more of an old school definition of thrillers, which is the kind of espionage, action adventure type of book. So what a commenter on the channel once called dad books. So these are all definitely dad books. So anyway, hopefully that will appeal. If it doesn't, feel free to stop watching now. But yeah, I'm sure there are some fans out there of this kind of thing. So I've got a few multiple books by the same author as usual. I haven't done a terribly good job of organising the books before starting, so we'll see where we go. So let's start with Jack Higgins, who sadly died last month. So anyway, I have a few by him. So if you don't know Jack Higgins, he's a British writer who writes a variety of both, kind of contemporary thrillers and also Second World War stuff. I think this is a Second World War one by the looks of it. Yep. So this is Bad Company, which features one of his most famous characters, Sean Dillon, who I think made his first appearance in The Eagle Has Landed, which is probably Higgins' favourite book. Got another one by him, In the Hour Before Midnight, which I think is one of his older ones. So, as I say, he only died recently, but he was writing from the 50s. When was this? Yeah, this was originally published in 69. Another World War II one. So we've got the Valhalla Exchange. So I haven't read any of these. I've read a number of Jack Higgins books over the years, but not these ones. Next up, Storm Warning, which is another World War II one. Which looks really thick, but when you look at the pages, A, the spacing between the lines is huge, and B, the margins are some of the biggest I've ever seen. So I don't think it would actually take me very long to read that one. Right, let's just check if there's any other Higgins. Yep, oh, there's one, and it's right at the bottom of this stack. Oh no, there's another one here actually. Right, so Angel of Death, which is a contemporary one, I think. Yep, so it's about the KGB, so not contemporary anymore, but contemporary when it was written. And then another one, which I think is another World War II one, Flight of Eagles. I need to dig into some of these Higginses. I've got too many unread. Right, let's move on then to someone who is kind of similar. I think of him in the same sort of subgenre of British thrillers, so Alistair Mclean. So I've got a nice stack of Alistair Mclean hardbacks here, which I picked up very cheap from a supermarket book sale. So we've got Where Eagles Dare, obviously very famously filmed with Richard Burton. Caravan to Vaccares, I probably pronounced that wrong, but that's kind of what it looks like. Bear Island. And there's a picture of Alistair Mclean on the back there, looking very dapper. It looks a bit like David Niven, doesn't he? And Circus, which has got a rather cool cover. And then I've also got a rather nice paperback edition of, so an old Fontana paperback edition of The Guns of Navarone, which is one that I have read actually, albeit I read it on my Kindle. But that's a very nice one. And this is it's labelled as a film Fontana book, so I guess it came out after the movie of Guns of Navarone came out. Right, no more Mclean or Higgins, so let's move on. So I've got SS General by Sven Hassell. So Sven Hassell was, I think he was Swedish or something like that, European anyway. Wrote a series of Second World War novels about a German troop. I have a couple. I think I've got Wheels of Terror and Legion of the Damned on my Kindle as well, by him. Right, let's try and do more Second World War ones before moving on to something more modern. So this is a modern Second World War novel, so Ratlines by Stuart Neville, which I know very little about, but it's got a nice blurb on the front from Ian Rankin, whose opinion I always trust, who rates it as fast, furious, bloody and good, which sounds all right in my book. It's a Nazi hunting thriller, apparently, so it looks fun. Right, I think that's all the Second World War ones, so let's move on. Right, I've got... right, let's do this one next. So I've got Solo by William Boyd, which is one of his James Bond books. I think he's written a couple. Obviously, Bond is... not Bond. Boyd is better known as a kind of literary fiction author, so quite interesting that he did a James Bond book. So I'd be interested to see what that's like. I've got another one. I know nothing about this one. This is Kill File by Christopher Farnsworth. So this is one I picked up cheap in a second-hand bookshop, I think. But it looks quite good, and it's got a blurb from Ernest Cline on the front. You don't see those very often, saying, I enjoyed the hell out of it. So I'm guessing it's a fairly shallow but fast-paced thriller. Right, I've got one here by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child, who I've read some of their early books. I've certainly read Relic and Reliquary and a couple of other of their first ones, but not read any of the more recent ones. So this is The Cabinet of Curiosities. They're quite fun if you've never read them. They've got a bit of a kind of supernatural / horror bent to them. So if I read you the blurb for this one, you'll see what I mean. In an ancient tunnel underneath New York City, a charnel house is discovered. Is it charnel house or carnal house? I don't know. Inside are 36 bodies, all murdered and mutilated more than a century ago. While FBI agent Prendergast investigates the old crimes, identical killings start to terrorise the city. The nightmare has begun. Again. So that's fun. Right. Got a Clive Cussler. So one of his Dirk Pitt novels. So this is one of the later ones that was written in conjunction with his son, Dirk Cussler. So I'm a big fan of the Dirk Pitt novels, especially the earlier ones. So I've read probably the first 15 or so. Not read. What I haven't read more of is the Clive Cussler and books. So there were a load of kind of spin-off series by different people. And yeah, not read this one yet either, but they're quite fun. So Dirk Pitt is like an adventurer and like a diver and things like that who discovers shipwrecks and then gets involved in spy plots and that kind of thing. This one, I think, is ostensibly non-fiction. The Spear of Destiny by Trevor Ravenscroft, which is about Hitler's obsession with the spear of Longinus, which apparently was the spear that stabbed Jesus. So yeah, I think this was fairly well known at the time and quite popular at the time. I suspect it's a load of old nonsense, but we shall see. Right, I've got a few. So I've got 3 here in a series. I don't know if I'll get them in the right order or not. Probably not. But I've read a number. I have read certainly 2 of these, and I've read a number of other ones in this series as well in the past, but they are rather fabulous. It's the Modesty Blaze series by Peter O'Donnell. So Modesty Blaze started as a strip cartoon in newspapers. So she's like a female Bond basically, but with quite a kind of humorous camp kind of edge to them as well. There's a fantastic film, which is the tie-in edition 4. I'll show you the pictures on the stills on the back there from the film, which has got Terrence Stamp as her kind of sidekick, Monica Vitti as Modesty Blaze, and Dirk Bogarde, I think, is the villain in that one. So yeah, the Modesty Blaze books are just really fun. They're quite sexy, they're very fast-paced, they're very silly, but massively entertaining. So I've got another one in the series, which is The Impossible Virgin. Another rather excellent cover there. And then this one, which would be quite a good cover, except the picture looks quite out of focus and badly kind of cut out. This is obviously in the days before Photoshop. So this is Pieces of Modesty, which I think is a short story collection. Let's have a look. Yes, so it's got like 6 short stories in it. So yes, there's a number of other books in the series. There's one called The Silver Mistress. I'm trying to remember what the other one's called. Cannot remember. I've also got this, which I think I might have in my my pulp box upstairs as well. So Firecross by Dick Stivers, which is one of the Able Team books. So these Able Teams are like a spin-off from the Macmillan Executioner series. They're very silly. And look, you can get, if you subscribe, you can get a free watch, which looks like the cheapest digital watch you've ever seen. But I still kind of want it. And look, you do so, it's quite cool. You subscribe by peeling that sticker there of like gun sights and then sticking it in this circle here, which says in it, terrorists, anarchists, drug dealers, mobsters and hijackers. So by doing that, by subscribing to these trashy paperbacks, you make America safe. Slightly less trashy, but still a bit trashy, I think. I've got one of Vince Flynn's Mitch Rapp novels. So there's a bunch of these. I've got a load of them on my Kindle, and I've read a few over the years. So they're kind of a bit like the Jack Ryan books, but a bit more, kind of a cross between Jack Ryan and James Bond, I guess you'd say. So, you know, kind of American intelligence, pretending to be quite in the know, but really being quite silly. So yeah, they're quite fun. Anyway, this one is the third option. I'm not sure what options 1 and 2 were. Let's continue with the number themes. I've got the Fourth Protocol by Frederick Forsyth. So I might have bought this recently on my Kindle as well, actually. I've certainly got a couple of other Frederick Forsyths on my Kindle. I've read some of his newer books, which I didn't like so much, but I'm keen to read some of the older stuff, particularly Day of the Jackal. Which I do have on my Kindle. This is from 1984, so it's reasonably old. And this was filmed with... Was it filmed with Michael Caine? I can't remember. Or was it Pierce Brosnan? There's definitely a movie of it with someone in it. Right, not really thrillers, but when I boxed up my books, I didn't have enough Westerns to have a Western box. I've definitely now got enough Westerns for a Western box. So this is the J.T. Edson Omnibus number 12, featuring The Bloody Border, Back to the Bloody Border, and The Quest for Bowie's Blade. I'm assuming that's not David Bowie. I'm assuming it's Jim Bowie. So yes, this looks quite fun anyway. I should probably keep this out for June on the Range, but I don't know. I think I've probably got enough books for June on the Range already. And these are all from the late 60s, early 70s by the looks of it. So maybe I'll read some of those for June on the Range. I mentioned Tom Clancy earlier. I don't really have any Tom Clancy books anymore. I used to have tons. But this is one of the kind of spin-off ones. So with the Tom Clancy name on the cover, but not actually written by him. Power and Empire, which is a Jack Ryan book. Again, I've got a few of these on my Kindle, but I haven't read them yet. And then somewhat more serious in the kind of thriller espionage vein, A Most Wanted Man by John Le the great British spy writer who again died fairly recently. So I've only read a couple of his early ones, but he's, from what I've read, very, very good. So I've got a couple of paperbacks by him and a load on my Kindle as well. And then finally, a book which is not that interesting, but what was inside the book is fascinating. So this book is This Angry Land by Terrence Strong, which is a thriller about a former SAS sergeant who goes to war-torn Mozambique. So it sounds, quite adventurous and interesting. And I picked this up in a hotel in London. So it was, one of those places where they had, like a bunch of, almost like a little free library, I suppose, but for hotel residents, and you could take a book and replace it with one. So I grabbed this because it looked quite fun. But I particularly grabbed it because when I picked it off the shelves and opened it up, this was inside it. And this is the most amazing thing I've ever found in a book. So I've obscured the names on it because I don't want to end up on a hit list. So this is a letter from a Masonic lodge in Uruguay. So it's from like the master of the Masonic lodge. Basically, giving bona fides for the bearer of this letter, whose name is on here, but I will not name. But let me read it to you because it's amazing. So it says, introductory letter, and then in brackets, credential, and then number 384. It's got a load of initials at the top. I don't know what those mean,
but it's from the Gran Logia, which I assume is Grand Lodge, de la Masoneria del Uruguay. So I assume that's the Grand Lodge of the Uruguayan Masons. There's a little sort of Illuminati-looking symbol at the top there with a triangle and a circle. The initials across the top here are ITNOTGAOTU. I don't know what that means, but obviously it's some sort of code. And it was written in Montevideo on September 25th, 2017. And it says, "To all Freemasons whom it may concern, the Worshipful Master and Secretary of Lodge FE number 8, under the jurisdiction of the Grand Lodge of Freemasonry of Uruguay, duly certify that Brother, name redacted, where he is a master, I've missed out a bit, is an active member in good standing of that lodge, where he is a master mason. This introductory letter is issued so as you may recognise and provide with the fraternal attentions according to his grade." So I don't know what fraternal attentions a master mason gets versus just a normal mason. But then it's signed at the bottom by the Deputy Grand Master, Acting Grand Secretary of Foreign Affairs. And it says this document is valid for a maximum of 6 months from its issuing. So sadly, it's now lapsed. And even if I did have a fake passport or could somehow doctor the name to be my name, I wouldn't manage to. I don't think I managed to pass this off. It's also a bit stained for some reason. So yeah, I don't know if the recipient of this letter lost it after, because they forgot that they were using it as a bookmark within that 6 months, or if the 6 months had passed and they were done with it. But I would have thought that it should have probably been destroyed, so that the secrets of Freemasonry were not exposed to the world. So anyway, that's my favourite ever forgotten bookmark. If this channel goes off air after this video and I disappear, then you know why. It was the Uruguayan Masons what got me. So yeah, do make a note of that just in case, because who knows. Anyway, as always, hope you enjoyed that little tour of my library. Let me know if you've read any of these. I'm sure some people have read some of the Jack Higginses and maybe the Modesty Blazes. And I'm sure I know there's some Frederick Forsyth readers out there. So yeah, let me know if you've read any of these. And as always, hope you're safe and well. Hope you're all really good stuff. And I will speak to you again very soon. Cheerio. Well, hopefully I'll speak to you again soon if the Masons don't get me. Bye.